If you read Craig's article, his conversation with Bobby Hurley, you know how highly he thinks of the freshman coming in. There is almost no world where both these guys don't start.
Yeah, at least to start the season, and if he just kind of picks up where he left off over the summer, I mean, we talked about in the audio only episode, and I won't give too much away, but the prospects of the ceiling for what Sanon could be scoring, it's pretty high.
Yeah. So this article came from, or this quote came from an article on Bleacher Report, them talking to all of these top prospects, the biggest takeaways from the Adidas Euro camp, where Sanon was very, very good. And again, this was recently. He had the highest scoring output of anybody in a single game during that camp with 30 points and a 28-point game. The game before that, he was 12 of 26 from three. Like, he was dominating. And this isn't against Joe Schmoes. These are against the best of the best recruits. So he's ready, and ASU fans should be stoked.
Yeah, mostly other NBA prospects as well. I mean, there are other players that he's playing against right now that will most likely be drafted next year too. And he also had some questions asked him about Bobby and kind of what he explained that his role is going to be. And quote, he says, Coach Bobby Hurley explained how he would be getting me the ball and show me different ways to score on and off the ball.
Love that.
He's coming in to be a killer.
Yeah,
he's coming in to just fire away. I mean, there's not an outlier reality where he leads the team in shot attempts and possibly by a rather big margin.
Yeah, one of the Eurocamp founders spoke highly of Sanon, but also, there's a reason why you go to these camps is to get better. And so he gave him some constructive criticism, says he needs to get tough defensively, and Sanon recognized that, saying, quote, reading the defense better and seeing the court was a priority for him moving forward. That's great news because Bobby Hurley knows how to get the best out of a player defensively, especially a player that's 6'6" with an NBA build like Joson Sanon is.
Yeah, and especially because Sanon with his size mixed with how quick he is, how fast he can go into his shooting motion. I mean, just initial first looks at the tape when it was even just rumored that he could come to ASU. The one thing you notice is that he can get a shot up over almost anybody just with how quick and how smooth his release is. You can play him at the 3. You can also play him at the 2. Right. Yeah. And so if he's having some trouble guarding some bigger bodies or maybe being kind of lost, if the best opposing player is a 3 and a bigger 3 as well, there's no problem pushing him to the 2. You don't lose anything offensively. If anything, as a pro, like you're going to be looking at somebody who is a 2, like Danielle mentioned, kind of that Devin Booker build where you're 6'6", you're athletic, you're a really good smooth shooter off the bounce. So with defensive, like you can put him on somebody smaller. He's still quick. He's not slow-footed, and that is something that all freshmen have to deal with. We talk about Jaden Quayton's. The biggest concern coming into the season is, hey, you got to stay out of foul trouble. And I'm sure Sanon's going to have something similar because it's very obvious that he's an offensive-focused player, and there's nothing wrong with that. But there's a lot of players on this team that can put the ball in the bucket. And so if for some reason your shot's not falling, you can't just be throwing up shots. You have to be able to go in on the defensive end. You have to go in and rebound. You have to go in and pass. And hopefully that's something that when he gets to ASU, Sanon realizes that that's also what the pro game is looking for.
Another thing that I really enjoy about some of the things said in this article is how good he was against the older competition. That's what we've seen in the Euro League and Eurobasket in the last 10 years, and why drafting your Luka Doncic's isn't as scary as it was 10, 15 years ago, because they're playing against men every single day since they're 16 years old. So that's a good thing to test yourself with right now, going into college, because you've played really well and you've averaged 30 points a game in the EYBL and such, but you're playing against kids your age. In college, that's not the case. You're playing against guys that have been there for 4, 5, sometimes 6 years, get a job.
Yeah, grown men.
So it's a good test right now.
And something else in this article that I want to highlight, and if you guys haven't been able to check it out, Jonathan Wasserman over at Bleacher Report did a whole takeaway from the Adidas Hero Camp, and said he shined through 2 losses against older competition, but he came out the first game, Saturday, focused on running the offense and getting teammates involved. And now that means he struggled a little bit more on the offensive end. It wasn't like the 23 points that he put up on Sunday or the 30 points that he put up on Monday. But he didn't just come in and say, screw everybody else. like it's Sanon time. I'm just gonna shoot every single shot. He came in and tried to establish like, hey, let's get my teammates involved. Let's get this running. But when it didn't work out, he realized it's now my time to take over.
Yeah.
And that bodes well to be on a team that has a lot of offensive talent like this ASU team does, with not only Jaden Quains, who's going to demand attention down low and will probably want some touches, but a plethora of good shooters like Adam Miller or Alston Mason, and guys that could do everything like BJ Freeman and Bashir Jihad.
Yeah, I think some people are sleeping on his playmaking ability.
Yeah.
He has a lot of guard, like true one guard capabilities. Really good handles, can see the floor pretty well for a young guy, and that will only again get better as the season progresses and as his time at ASU progresses before the season when it comes to camp. So it's a really exciting thing.
It really is, and I've just really hoped that people understand how special this season can be. And now, obviously, a lot of things have to go right, and usually not everything goes perfect and according to plan, but there's just so many different ways that you could see just this basketball team as a whole really competing, but also with Sanon, and like you mentioned, having that point guard style chops and still being able to pass. Listen, if he comes out here and immediately off the bat, he's averaging 14, 15, 16 points per game, he's leading the team in shots, he's going to start demanding a lot of attention, right? And knowing how many weapons you have around you, like how you respond to that's super important. And if he's able to just pick apart defenses, make the right read, make the right pass, kind of call out plays and be that pseudo point guard, because we don't know who the number one facilitator on this team is going to be yet. I mean, you're talking about somebody who lottery. Like if you're talking that type of scoring chops, that type of size, that type of build, that athleticism, that shot, the form, if you're scoring and you're also making the right decisions and you're good on defense, there's not many NBA teams that would not want somebody like that on their team.
Yeah, and that shows with the end of this article. They say that in the 2025 mock, he's going to be in the first round.
Yeah.
For Bleacher Report's mock. We know how much those can change, but for a guy that's coming into ASU, it's a nice thing to have a first rounder in your starting lineup.